Hello, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube. I am General Grievous, and I am a alcoholic. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, welcome to a special episode. I am joined by King Orange once again. Say hello, King.
Hello there.
God damn it! What did I tell you about the hello there's? Save it for the episode. Save it for Kenobi.
This is the episode.
Save it for Kenobi. Anyway, you want to tell our audience what we are going to be talking about?
Ladies and gentlemen, after a very, very long time of people making reviews of the aforementioned Star Wars The Clone Wars, a series that has been pretty widely talked about by the Star Wars community, a show that many Star Wars fans, myself included, have personally grown up on, and, well, it's critically acclaimed by a lot of people. So, at the end of the day, I think the time has finally come for us to give our own take on the show and our opinion. So, yeah. But I knew for such a daunting task, I could not do it alone. For no matter what, we are united as brothers. So I called upon my fellow comrade, Negasonic, to help me. Or
Yes.
in this case, I help him, whichever way we look at it.
Yeah, it's a matter of perspective.
So you see, what I tell you is true, from a certain point of view.
Yeah, if I ever review Return of the Jedi, I'm just gonna talk about how much Ben is full of shit there.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, because he lied to Luke.
Yeah, that'll be fun. So everyone, this will be our review of the first season of Star Wars The Clone Wars, Season 1, which we're also going to include the TCW movie as well within this one. So just as a disclaimer, for all of the Expanded Universe fans out there, because I am one of them, we will not be reviewing this show under the context of the contradictions to the Expanded Universe. Because if we did, we'd be here all fucking day. And at the end of the day, I feel like such a topic is worthy of its own video. So, contradictions to the EU will not be accounted for within the show. Instead, it will be viewed with the new canon in mind, especially since that's kind of what's relevant to most people nowadays. On top of this, the main contradictions that will be covered is if it contradicts the film, aka George Lucas's 6 masterpieces. If anyone says otherwise, I will execute Order 66 on them.
Yeah, you better listen to what he says, folks.
So with that in mind, and these disclaimers, most of the judgment on the show will be viewed within the quality of the show itself. We will be breaking them down into individual arcs and covering episodes that stand out to us, either for the good or the extremely bad.
Or the ugly.
Or the ugly. So with that out of the way, I have made my piece. Negasonic, the floor is yours.
Alright, so we're actually not going to cover every episode. We're actually just going to cover certain arcs. But the first one I actually wanted to take a look at was actually the very first episode of TCW, because it represents what the show is capable of and what the standard will be going forward. So this episode starts with Yoda and a small group of clones on their way to a neutral moon to talk to the Toydarian king about possibly negotiating the setup of a Republic supply base. Unfortunately, Count Dooku and his agent Asajj Ventress kind of butt their way in, and they're like, hey, we can do better because our droid army outnumbers the clones 100-1, and they ask the question, how can the Jedi protect you if they can't protect themselves? And immediately, because we talked about this in private, the Separatists commit a war crime.
Gentlemen, that's good. Ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be a little marker we're going to be doing at the end of each season review, is Separatist war crimes. You'll be seeing it at the end of the video tallied. It will be funny.
Yeah. So So as the Republic ship is coming out of hyperspace, they try to communicate with the Toydarian delegation. It turns out their communications are being jammed, and then a Munalist battleship comes out of hyperspace and starts firing on them. So the clone captain, I guess, who's in charge of like directing like how the ship is piloted and all that, kind of like a captain on a starship or anything like that. Uh, he says, "I have to get you to safety," and Yoda says, "Into the escape pods we go." And this is where Yoda's mischievous nature comes into play. So the captain remarks that the enemy will fire at anything we launch. So he says, "Launch all of the escape pods." So they get into an escape pod, and this leads to one of the first funny moments from the battle droids. And and probably the funniest part is, "What a lousy shot." "Ah, well, it's my programming." So as they reach the moon, yeah, basically they have to get through the droid army in order to get to the Toydarian delegation. And this
So
episode,
the
oh yeah, go ahead.
so the thing this episode starts out doing very well is that, ironically, it's kind of nice that it opens with Yoda. Yoda, up until this point's coverage as a wartime general, wasn't very covered too much. It was seen within the original Clone Wars microseries, a series, disclaimer, we will be doing a separate review for. However, the big thing about this episode that does well is that it shows Yoda's fighting style and his philosophy within commanding. And it does a good job of forging his relationship between himself and these three clones against a very overwhelming odd. And this is something that kind of runs as a theme within the entire show, highlighting the individuality of the clone troopers. This is especially noted during the campfire scene, where they're hiding within the cave trying to let the droids pass. During this, Yoda highlights that despite them looking the same, they each contain their own individual qualities that make them unique to not only each other, but also in the eyes of the Force.
Yes, and also I really like the part, like, because I saw the trailer for the first time when I first saw it. One of the clones hiding behind the tree and then peeking his head out, and then they go into battle. I really like the clone that has the minigun, and he goes, "Okay, clankers, suck laser," and he just mows down an entire squad of droids. Something about miniguns is just fun.
The big thing about, to be fair, miniguns are fun, but the one good thing that this first episode does highlight is the action sequences of the show. It does its presentation pretty well, and all around it has a pretty good ending to the episode. So all around, pretty good start to the series. On to the next one.
Yes. So the next episode is...
Have you ever wondered what would happen if the Separatists got their own Death Star? Well, you can find out today. Watch the first episode of the Malevolence Arc. Bum, 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 bum.
I don't think it's actually an actual Death Star laser, but it is the same principle. And this is also the show's introduction to Plo Koon, who I actually really like as a character.
Now, something remote to mention is that Dave Filoni has flat out come out and said that Plo Koon was his favorite Jedi. So it's kind of ironic that when you actually view the entire show, Plo Koon has the most screen time out of all the Jedi, except for the main cast of Anakin, Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, Yoda, and Mace. Kind of ironic.
Super ironic. And so this episode basically highlights, well, mostly the brutality of Grievous and a little bit of the ruthlessness of Dooku, because they're both on board this giant battleship, and they disable the three ships, and then they send out the pod hunters, and we actually get to see what happens when a clone is exposed to outer space without protective gear. Wee!
Spoiler alert, it doesn't.
Yeah.
However, something this arc does do very well is that it does build up a good sense of tension with the hunt. On top of this, it does introduce Anakin and Ahsoka using the Twilight to try to find them and rescue them, as well as using stealth at the tail end to try to dodge the Malevolence from tracking them. After making a narrow escape, this episode comes to a good conclusion, and we think to ourselves, wait a minute, the Malevolence isn't destroyed, this is still a threat. What's the deal? And that's when, back in 2008, you got the previews to the next episode that highlighted that it was a second part to this storyline. Now, this is something that in TV shows is actually kind of rare. TV shows normally are not composed of arcs, but rather they're usually just one long continuous story that makes it through an entire season. Think of Star Wars Rebels as an example. However, what Clone Wars did, because it was an anthology series, is that it almost treated its storylines like mini movies divided into multiple parts. So, all around, pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, and I really like I especially like how they have a connection between Plo Koon and Ahsoka, and how it shows off Plo Koon's more subtler Force abilities, his ability with telepathy, and that's how Ahsoka knows where to find him. And for those who don't know, the Twilight was actually featured for the first time in the Clone Wars movie. It was actually a scavenger ship on Teth when Anakin and his forces went to rescue, dare I say it, the little green slug that we will not talk about. But that's basically where the Twilight actually came from. It's not an actual Republic ship. It's actually a separatist ship. Or is it a separatist ship? Because
I am not going to get into that gymnastics.
Okay.
Of trying to piece that together. However, after the narrow escape with the Malevolence, it moves on to the next part, Shadow of the Malevolence. This episode is composed mainly of Anakin with Shadow Squadron trying to take the Malevolence out. And this is pretty much done as a relative slow pace. I won't lie, through my point of view, Shadow of Malevolence is probably the weakest part of the 3-part arc. Not because it's bad, but only because a lot of its pacing is slow, leading up to the confrontation between Anakin and Grievous.
Although Grievous does get a funny line because he says, "What's taking so long?" "Sorry, sir, but the nav computer has to calculate a route around a large nebula near the medical station." "Oh, they told me this ship was fast."
So after Anakin and Grievous makes it to the medical station around the same time, you have a fearsome battle. Anakin decides to target the ion cannon instead of the bridge, and this leads to a Republic victory. And then this leads to the third part, Destroy Malevolence. This is composed of, as the Republic is bombarding the shit out of the Malevolence, Padme Amidala receives the wrong coordinates for a diplomatic mission. How the fuck did she not suspect Palpatine after this? What the fuck?
I know, right?
Anyway, she jumps out of light speed. The Malevolence is right there, and Grievous decides the brilliant idea to pull a Bowser.
Could you... Oh, I get it. Okay, yep. Also, this is also...
With this in mind, Kenobi and Skywalker have to board the Malevolence to rescue Senator Amidala as well as C-3PO.
Now, I actually like what Obi-Wan says here, because that's a reference to Phantom Menace. Spitting is not flying, but it's a good trick.
I will confess TCW does have some fun humor. The big thing that Destroy Malevolence also has is that this is the first time that General Grievous and Obi-Wan Kenobi confronts each other, with Grievous jumping down when putting Kenobi into a trap, saying the words, "Hello there." So I guess that means canonically Grievous said it first. That's odd.
Actually, because this was made after New Hope came out, Obi-Wan, and because Obi-Wan was the first one to say it, I think Obi-Wan gets credit for it. However, this is actually where we do see a little bit, not much, but we do see General Grievous's combat capabilities. Although, once we get into later seasons, you'll see that it's not that we have a negative view of Grievous, it's just that, well, the writers completely fucked him up. Because if you watch this show and then watch Revenge of the Sith, both the novel and the movie make it very clear that that was the first time that Grievous was meeting Kenobi, not just Skywalker. And it doesn't help that Kenobi...
They confront each other several times throughout the show.
Yeah.
That's the thing. While the movie doesn't go out of its way to imply that Kenobi and Grievous never met, it does strongly imply that they never fought each other before. I mean, when you literally have Grievous bragging about who his karate teacher is, that kind of shows something. I've been trained in your Jedi arts by Count Dooku. Like, it's like, in the context of TCW, when Grievous says that in Revenge of the Sith, Kenobi would be like, yeah, I know, I fought you like 20 times. So, that is kind of a continuity fuck-up on TCW's end, or Filoni's end, but all around, still a good chase scene, and then the arc basically ends with the Malevolence crashing into the moon, mainly because one particular Jedi wanted to fuck up the Navicomputer. And all around, happy ending. Yay for the Republic.
And also this is going to be a running theme throughout the show, but Grievous jumps in his starfighter and basically flees. You're going to see that a lot. I mean, within the context of the micro-series, the speech that Dooku gives Grievous when he's training him about when he doesn't have fear, surprise, and intimidation on his side, it would be best for him to retreat. I think Grievous in this version took that just a little too literally.
Yeah, this will be a running theme that we have later. Like I said, we are refraining from comparing it to the EU, but small mentions of the 2003 micro series will be mentioned. And one big thing worth noting, as I didn't really think about it up until this point, is Anakin's relation with Ahsoka Tano. Now, Ahsoka kind of starts as an annoying brat in the beginning of this show, which is to be expected. However, this is where the problem lies with the way it's portrayed. Because Anakin was given a Padawan, it made him where he had to mature extremely quickly. And when you look at the context of TCW, this is only supposed to take place about like 2 to 3 months after Attack of the Clones. And we're seriously meant to believe that Anakin went from this spoiled little brat in Attack of the Clones to where he is in this show. Yeah, this is kind of another continuity fuck up. As the problem isn't even so much of Anakin being knighted or whatever, it's the problem of, considering how badly he fucked up in Attack of the Clones, why would the Jedi in any of their all-seeing wisdom think it's a good idea for Anakin to spread his influence on a freaking Jedi child?
I agree with that. Also, since we also talked about this in private, actually, I don't think we'll save that for the war crimes, at the end. But just the thing to note here: most of the Ahsoka is underage, and therefore she would not be a legal combatant within the context of our world. But in the context of Star Wars, it doesn't matter how old you are. You could be a freaking baby, and you could still be a legal combatant.
Yeah, Star Wars is weird. Speaking of child soldiers, Next episode, or as I like to call it, one of the best episodes of Season 1, Rookies, composed of a squad of clone troopers known as Domino Squad, chilling out on a Rishi outpost before being attacked by an espionage mission carried out by our first
The first appearance of the Commando
our
Droids.
first introduction of the Commando Droids.
Good God, I fucking...
At least in the context of release order.
Ah, right. And so the deck officer, he sees the that scene where he sees the transport, and then the head pops up. I'm like, what the fuck? And it looks like a B1, but it has a deeper voice, and it also has the ability to mimic. It has a voice vocabulator modulator thingamajig, and this is also where we get, well, not properly, but we get introduced to Rex and Cody within the context of the show, and I actually really like how these two kind of work off of each other.
Rex and Cody are very much kind of like they're almost like a buddy cop situation, which is very entertaining to watch within this episode, especially when the entire point of them in this episode is to help inspire courage within the newer recruits, aka the rookies, aka my homies, Heavy, Fives, and Echo.
Oh, and cut up in Droid Bait.
Droid Bait died by the Commando Droid, and Cut Up got eaten by a giant worm.
Yeah. Also, I like what Rex does to actually get inside. He actually mimics a droid by constantly taking advantage of the fact that they always say Roger, Roger. And then when the Commando Droid at the door says, "Let me see your faceplate," he bends down to hold up a deactivated Commando Droid head, and Cody's like, "This is never gonna work." Surprise, it works. And
no one said that the droids were programmed to be the brightest tools in the shed.
Yeah. Also, this is a moment where I wanted them to put in some freaking profanity. Even though it is a kid's show, I wanted them to have at least one bit of profanity, where he points his gun and he says, "Roger, frickin' Roger," and then he blasts them.
Yeah, but this episode already did have one.
Oh yeah, because he shoots this guy's Commando Droid, and Cody says, "Rex, what the hell are you doing?"
Exactly. This episode concludes with the clones making a stand against the droid army to prevent Grievous from attacking Kamino undetected. This leads to my clone boy Heavy, rest in peace Heavy, sacrificing himself to alert the Republic of the attack, and basically Grievous's plans are foiled. This also results within Fives and Echo, the two sole survivors of the outpost, to basically be recruited within the 501st by Captain Rex. These two become pivotal much later.
Oh yes.
Now, it's ironic that episode 5 is among one of the best. And now we're about to get to the worst.
Ouch. Oh boy. Okay.
Downfall of a droid.
Actually, okay. Differing opinion here. I actually don't like Duel of the Droids. I actually think Downfall of a Droid is okay, but Duel of the Droids is definitely the weaker of the two. And this episode...
Either way, this arc is bad.
Yeah.
Either way, this arc is bad. Downfall of a Droid literally has it where the whole thing is just about R2 going missing, Anakin and Ahsoka freaking doing shenanigans, and this episode doesn't even look like the animation was finished. And then you get Duel of the Droids, which is literally about R2 and his evil cousin spouting about, like, fucking going against each other, while Grievous is trying to kill the Republic, and fucking Anakin rescues R2. And at the end, Grievous runs away. This is going to be a very common theme.
Yeah, and also we get introduced to the Droid Popper, which is basically just a miniaturized EMP.
Fun! Also, the fact that Ahsoka fights Grievous without instantly dying, I am calling bullshit.
Oh yes. Now we're going to move on to the next major arc, which is um not
He's
exactly.
back.
Good God. God damn it. Okay. So it starts off with Bombard Jedi, then Cloak of Darkness, then Layer of Grievous. So Bombard Jedi is basically Padme goes
Jar
to
Jar impersonates a Jedi Master to rescue Padme from Newt Gunray.
who is guilty of multiple war crimes, including as he was about to attempt summary execution against Padme. We'll get into that later, but he ends up getting captured, and yeah. Now, differing opinion here again. I think Jar Jar is not as bad as some people make him out to be. Hell, my my least favorite character out of the prequels, believe it or not, is actually young Boba Fett. And that's because the actor who played him in the movie had never seen a single Star Wars film, and kids don't exactly have it meshed well with the Star Wars setting in terms of the kid actors. I think Jake Lloyd did a good job, but everybody else, not so much. So, Cloak of Darkness, there we get introduced to Luminara Unduli, who you might know from her bones in Star Wars Rebels when we're introduced to the Inquisitor, and she and Ahsoka are basically escorting Gunray back to Coruscant for trial for his many, many, many war crimes. Ventress is sent to, well, either
Rescue or silence him.
yep, and we get a really good fight with and where Ahsoka and Ventress trade barbs, and I actually really like how she calls her Ahsoka calls Ventress a hairless harpy.
Yeah, this show has a way of characters insulting each other. The one good thing that this episode does have is that if you're looking for a pretty fun action-packed episode, this one does a pretty good job. It builds some good suspense, and it kind of helps reestablish Ventress as a competent threat when the Clone Wars movie kind of made a fool out of her.
Yeah, that's true. And okay, I have to go off on a bit of a tangent here. The scene in where the clones are captured and Rex has his blaster and he tries to shoot Ventress. She opens with her saber staff linked. Ventress, that is completely out of character for Ventress. She would only do that as a last resort. So I do not
In
like.
case you people don't know, my Mr. Negasonic here is a saber staff purist. He is a fucking...
You can blame Darth Maul for that.
Hey, oh man, I can't wait to get to season 4.
Oh, you're gonna love it. Anyway, so
Cloak of Darkness, pretty good shit. Ventress is pretty fucking ruthless. Captain,
Argyle.
yeah, fucking traitor scumbag. Ventress kills him in the end. Fun shit.
Also, I really like how that evil laugh she does when she's confronting Luminara and Ahsoka. And oh my god, the voice actress for Ventress did a really good job, I think. And you know what? I'm gonna say it. She gets better over the course of the series. Hell, if I dare I say it, if Duchess Satine wasn't in the show, I would say that Ventress and Kenobi could possibly become romantically involved.
I would not go that far. And yeah, no.
Okay, so the arc concludes with Layer of Grievous. Oh boy, we're gonna have some fun now, kiddies.
This is where the fun begins.
Yep.
Anyways, so this episode begins with Kit Fisto, or as I like to call him, Husbando Jedi. Because I will be clear, I am a straight man, but if I was gay, Kit Fisto would be my guy.
Oh yes. I like to call him Tentacle Head.
Yes. Pure tentacles.
Anyway, we're also introduced to
Nadar Veb, aka Kit Fisto's apprentice, or as I like to call him, Agbar Jr.
yeah. Yeah, they have Mon Calamari Jedi. That's an interesting idea. And so they figure out they infiltrate this base that Grievous is using as a hideout, but it turns out this is his home. Oh boy, we're gonna have some fun. So Grievous.
This begins with the Jedi and the clones setting a trap for Mr. Grievous, and them trying to catch Grievous goes as well as you would expect.
And then he retreats into a secret back door. And this is actually where, well, it's heavily implied that whenever he has to be repaired, they have to take off the mask and he like screams in pain. And I actually kind of like that. And I also like that there's actually like a doctor or a Dr. Droid that actually like repairs him and fixes him up.
I think the Dr. Droid might single-handedly be one of the best characters for a standalone episode.
Yeah.
He was fun. And it's kind of fun how the way Dave Filoni described him was he was like the one person in the galaxy that could give Grievous crap and not be killed for it.
Yeah.
It's like, so all around fun stuff. Lightsaber fights are pretty decent. Nadar Veb
dies,
for lack of a better term. And after this, Kit Fisto has a pretty cool fight at the end with Grievous. Now, there is something at the end of the episode that kind of makes me laugh a little, which only further solidifies the fact that this is going to be another rant incoming. Grievous is a fucking joke in this show. He is a fucking joke. And something that makes this episode make it feel even more stupid is that when Grievous talks to Dooku, he's like, Count Dooku, the Jedi have been defeated. So, any rational being would think, okay, if someone told you the Jedi were defeated, that would make you assume you killed both of them. However, Dooku responds to this and says, killing the clones and the Padawan was expected, or the younger Jedi, but the best a Jedi master. This is truly an accomplishment worthy of recognition. And Grievous responds, Jedi Master Fisto escaped.
So there's room for improvement.
The fact that Grievous had the audacity to fucking do that, I'm gonna save my rage on Grievous a little bit because, believe me, I have an entire show to fucking go through with ranting on Grievous.
Yeah.
That's gonna be fun. That's gonna be very fun.
So,
anyways, on to the next arc. Dooku gets captured by the single-handed best character introduced in Star Wars The Clone Wars, period.
Hondo.
My boy, Hondo Ohnaka. Or as I like to call him, the Captain Jack Sparrow of the Star Wars universe.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
So, these two episodes basically fall into the idea that Hondo captures Dooku, he negotiates a ransom with the Republic, he then kidnaps Obi-Wan and Anakin to negotiate an even higher ransom, because, you know, life is fun. Pirates make business. And this results in Mr. Jar Jar Binks having to help rescue them. All around, these two episodes are very strange because it's hard for me to say if I particularly like them. I love Hondo Ohnaka, and he's single-handedly one of the best characters ever, but the episodes themselves leave a bit to be desired.
Well, I actually like the banter between Dooku, Anakin, and Obi-Wan where they have to work together in order to get out of there. Kenobi, control your apprentice. Yes, Anakin, control your insolent tongue. The Count is concentrating. Not gonna lie, pretty good, pretty funny moment there. And also because they make fun of Dooku being an old man, so they have to kind of keep pace with him, and like, you know, even though Dooku is more than capable of handling himself, he's still an old man, so they have to kind of account for it. But not a bad two-parter, but not a good one either. All right.
Yeah, it's kind of, it's a very middle in the it's a very middle of the road type of episodes. Now on to the next two set. Jedi Crash and Defenders of Peace.
Oh, god damn it. Now I gotta talk about this. Okay, so this was the show's first introduction of Aayla Secura, who, if you've read the comics or read her backstory of any capacity, you know for a fact that, well, let's just say she wasn't sexualized, but her species, being a Twi'lek, are quite known to be pampered. Let's just say that. And the female Twi'lek are often taken as slaves, which is just, we're not gonna even talk about that. But it's also notable because this is the first time Anakin actually gets injured, and he's not, in the episode, or he doesn't play. He's actually kind of the focal point of the episode a little bit. And I should also note that they gave, even though we have seen her voice in the Battlefront 2 original video game, I actually consider Aayla Secura having a French accent to be fun. I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, it's all right. But so what this episode also does is it also portrays the notion of what happens when a war is brought to a neutral system, as they encounter a set of villagers that essentially want absolutely no part in the war at all.
Yep. And then the Separatists come along. They're like, you're under the protection of the Separatists. Also, that Nemoidia...
Hey, hold the phone there. You did not say that right. You are now under the protection of the Separatist Alliance. I am General Lockdord of the Separatist Alliance.
Believe it or not, that guy is played by George Takei, and any Star Trek fans out there will know that's the actor who plays Sulu from the original series and the movies. So, that's kind of cool, actually. Although I am not a Trekkie fan myself, I do appreciate that they brought an original actor to the series, which is really cool, actually. Also, going back a little bit, in Downfall of a Droid, the Trandoshan junk guy, that guy is actually played by Ron Perlman.
Yeah, which is pretty good. So all around, these two set of episodes, they're decent. They do their job well. And unfortunately, the concepts of how the war's affecting neutral planets is kind of like, this episode touches on it, but it doesn't really go fully into depth with it, and that's something that's kind of covered more in the later seasons.
Oh, yes, we will get there. Also, I am not a fan of the villager's leader, because he's like, you gotta stay out of this, you gotta go away, because otherwise you're gonna get us all killed, but the Separatists are gonna kill you anyway. It doesn't matter, because they've brought in a new toy that fires a shell that destroys all living things. That's a war crime right there.
This is gonna be a running theme as well.
Yeah. So the Jedi, they break into the base, they steal shield generators. We have a pretty fun little action sequence. And
yep, and then in the end, the villagers stand up for themselves. They help the Jedi against the Separatists, and all around, another fine Republic victory. This is also going to be a running theme.
Yep. And now the next episode, Trespass. Ooh, I like this episode quite a bit. So it starts off with the Jedi and a company of clones going to an outpost on a snowy world, and it turns out that both the Republic outpost and the Separatist outpost there have been attacked by a mysterious force, which they find out is the Talls. And because the Talls are in Pantoran jurisdiction in their space, I believe the chairman, or the
chairman.
Yeah, as I like to call him, Mr. Dickhead. He says, look, you're under our jurisdiction. You will do what we say when we say it. But Senator Chuchi is like, she wants to find a diplomatic solution to this problem. But this ends up leading to a bout with the Talls. They just want peace. And actually, I really like how Anakin is trying to communicate with them by literally drawing, and he says peace, and he shows them shaking hands, which is really cool actually. It shows that Anakin can negotiate when he's put on, when he's, doing the stuff right. And
Anakin just has very different methods of persuasion, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
But this episode all around pretty well self-contained, and it ends with a good message of even when the bridges are burnt, you can still repair it and bring peace back. So all around, good stuff.
I
next episode.
I really like this episode. Okay, now. Oh boy.
The next episode, this is what's strange, is that up until this point, we believed that the show ran in a relatively chronological order. However, episode 16 of season 1 ironically takes place before the Clone Wars movie. And it's basically a prequel to that. So the prequel movie gets a prequel episode within the prequel show to precede the prequel movie. Okay, I'm just confusing myself now.
Yeah.
The point is that the idea of this episode is that there is a clone spy among them. Wait, among us?
Oh, don't even start with that. Yeah, and one thing I really like is that, while it is true that Ventress was introduced earlier on in the season, this is where she was actually technically introduced, and she's basically she knows how to handle the Jedi very well. And also, I really like, there's a line when Rex and Cody are going to talk to the troops. One of the clone troopers, he holds up a necklace, and Rex says, "Battle droid fingers."
Battle droid fingers.
I love the way he says that. And you know what? I think that clone deserves praise for, even though would be technically psychologically broken in the head, it does show that the clones have emotion. They can show emotion despite, being bred and genetically engineered to follow orders to the letter. And I really like the idea that this clone went out, or he managed to collect battle droid fingers and put them together on a little necklace. I really like that. It's very dark, but it's really cool. And anyway, it's revealed here that Slick, the sergeant of the ones in the barracks, is actually the traitor. And shenanigans ensue. They manage to capture Slick, and he reveals that he doesn't want to be a slave to the Jedi. He wants real freedom, or at least that's the implication.
This is an underlining theme that this episode uses, that unfortunately it's something the rest of the seasons don't cover to the same degree, is the notion that the clones really were kind of an enslaved army that didn't have much choice in the matter. So it's kind of, in a way, it's kind of ironic to have this clone that is essentially willing to betray the Republic and blames the Jedi for enslaving the clones, and that he almost treats his actions as righteous. And this is something that kind of highlights the idea that clones are capable within the show of becoming disillusioned by the Republic in the war.
Yeah, so on to the next episode, the Blue Shadow Virus. Oh boy, if you want an example of war crimes, here you go. Chemical and biological warfare.
Hey, we're saving the counter for the end.
Right, sorry, my bad. Anyway, so it turns out there's a mysterious something going on in the water that's killing off all these animals, and Padme and, Jar Jar find out that there's a secret lab on Naboo, and it's being, the research for the reason for this is because of one Dr. Nubian
Vendi, or as I like to call him, the Nazis' ultimate scientist. Yes.
So he reveals that he resurrected the Blue Shadow virus that was supposedly exterminated years ago, and he intends to release this virus into thousands of star systems across the galaxy, with backing by the Separatists. So, Ahsoka and Anakin and Kenobi have to rescue Padme and Jar Jar, and they have to stop Vindy from, deploying chemical weapons. And, well, they capture Vindy, but one of my favorite moments in that episode is where when Anakin saves Padme says, "Anakin, next time, save me. Destroy all the droids before you save me," or something around those lines. I can't remember what she says, but it's quite neat. And also, they have to deal with the idea of, well, he's got like vials in this case, and he's like, "Here, catch," and he's trying to slow him down.
All around these episodes this episode does a pretty good job of being a fun, action-packed adventure. And then when you get to the second part, basically the facility has a containment breach, the Blue Shadow virus, and Anakin and Obi-Wan basically have to go to the planet of Diego to find a cure for the Blue Shadow virus before Padme, Ahsoka, Rex, and basically a bunch of clone troopers die out from the Blue Shadow virus.
Okay, I have to say something. Giving that guy a German accent may have been controversial, but it works within the context of this episode, and I really like it. Anyway, probably my favorite part of Mystery of Thousand Moons is where basically as the Obi-Wan and Anakin are leaving, they find out there's this laser security grid thing in space, and the locals believe that this is some form of divine punishment. So Anakin uses reprogrammed vulture droids to basically blow up the grid, and so the people are freed, and then they get back in time to cure everybody. And, well, let's just say the Doctor is going to be going away for a very, very, very long time, up until the Empire comes around. We don't actually know what happens to him, but I like to think that the Empire recruited him for some form of some sort of experimentation, or he was just executed.
Anyways, all around these two episodes are pretty entertaining. There's nothing too much to kind of write home at the end of the day, and that is kind of a running theme with season 1, is that a lot of their episodes are they are in a sense episodic, where it's kind of like what happens in them doesn't really impact the rest of the show too much. So, on to the next one, or as I like to refer, probably the best arc of season 1.
Ah, yes, the Rylock
Arc.
So
first we'll start with Storm over Ryloth. This episode has it where the Jedi, in all their foreseen wisdom, decide to allow Ahsoka Tano to command her own fighter squadron. And it goes as well as you would expect.
Now, to be fair, she wasn't expecting additional reinforcements to come out of nowhere, but the sentiment still stands. She's basically learning that you can't just charge in like Anakin does. Sometimes there are times when you have to retreat. And also, this is where Admiral Yularen gets injured, and she actually kind of works off of him. While this is going on, Anakin basically pulls a false flag, and by commandeering one of the damaged cruisers, and basically rams it into the command ship, and Ahsoka leads a bomber squadron to take out the rest of the fleet. So the blockade is broken. Now, it should be noted that there's another episode that comes out later on that is actually a prequel to this arc, which features a Jedi named Master I'm Gun D, or I'm Gun Die.
Well, that's season 3.
Yeah, and I like that episode, but when we get there, that episode is basically a prequel to this arc, because it also shows like how they were able to get supplies.
Yes.
So the next episode, Innocence of Ryloth.
This episode basically has the ground invasion of Ryloth. Obi-Wan, Commander Cody, and the 212th begin their invasion to try to help liberate the civilians with a tactical droid, basically using them as living shields. Due to being unable to put the entire place under siege, due to that, and wanting to avoid civilian casualties, they're trying to find their way around to basically liberate the planet. This is where we get our two clone characters that are the main focus of the episode, Waxer and Boyle. As they traverse the village, they find a Twi'lek girl that they basically have to supervise and protect against the CIS threat.
Yeah, and
So
I really like how basically they fought, like, one, is it Waxer who takes a liking to her, or is it, no, it's Boyle. It kind of says, like, she
Waxer's more warm-hearted.
yeah,
Boyle's more cold.
yeah, and so they follow her to her former home, and Boyle actually, like, says, okay, we'll protect you. And then they come out and they see the monsters, and I like the line that he says, "You see what happens when we don't follow orders?" And then meanwhile, Cody and Obi-Wan and the rest of the 212 start making their way, and they're attacked by these starved beasts. And, well, a lot of clones get mauled or chewed up, and then Waxer and Boyle are reunited with the group. Obi-Wan basically goes behind the enemy lines with Waxer and Boyle, and basically Cody is basically there creating a diversion while Obi-Wan frees the villagers, and then he orders Waxer and Boyle to accompany him to a giant cannon that they're using. And, well, eventually he's he's disabled. The villagers kind of like, hey, this guy is cool, so we're going to help him out. And the tactical droid says, does not compute. Very droid-like. And it ends on a happy note with Obi-Wan saying to the two clones that the word that the little girl keeps calling them, Nera, means brother.
So something that this episode does a very good job at, aside from a lot of the action sequences, for one, it is interesting that the action sequences are revolved around the clones trying to minimize damage. This is not an open battlefield. This is something where they're trying hard to preserve the home, so they can't use explosives or anything along those lines. Another thing that is prevalent within this is that it is probably the first episode in the Clone Wars show that really highlights the civilian cost of the war and how it's affecting everyday life. As we would logically assume, the Twi'leks were naturally living a more peaceful life before the war came to them. So all around, this is a pretty good, solid episode. And then we get to the third one, Liberty of Ryloth. This has Mace Windu and his battalion of clone troopers basically having to push to the capital city to capture Whoop Tambor, or as I like to call him, one of the biggest scumbags in the history of Star Wars. Anyways, as he's doing that, he has to forge an alliance with the Twi'lek resistance fighter Cham Syndulla. Something that this episode does a very good job at is highlighting the distrust that the Twi'leks have within the Republic government, in particular with the Twi'lek senator,
Orn
Frita, thank you. So, and this is something that kind of hints at the Republic's transformation into the Empire, is Cham simply stating how another occupation is not a free Ryloth, and that it kind of foreshadows that the Republic, given what we know, is never going to leave the planet.
And it also is a good showcase of Mace's combative skills, because this is the first time we actually see him use the Shatterpoint ability to save a clone tank pilot, which I thought was really cool. Also, Lightning Squadron for the win. And also, the clones actually have to learn to use native mounts instead of their AT-RTs, which I think is really cool.
So all around, pretty good episode. Pretty good stuff. Not really too much more to put with it. And then we get to the season finale, where we get the introduction to another of Star Wars The Clone Wars' most prevalent original characters, Cad Bane. The
Yeah.
episode Hostage Crisis features Cad Bane and a group of bounty hunters basically taking a bunch of senators hostage and using them to negotiate the release of one of the worst original characters within Star Wars The Clone Wars.
Zero the Hutt. Dear God. This also, Anakin is also without his lightsaber, so he can't realistically save the day because he gave it to Padme. This is also a good the beginning of the episode also showcases Anakin and Padme's relationship in a very touching way, and I also like how he makes a reference to Attack of the Clones, where he's like, "This weapon is your life," because that's what Obi-Wan told him, and I really like that. And then she holds it in her hand, and she says, "Wow, it's heavier than I thought," and that's an interesting idea that Anakin built his lightsaber to be heavier than regular lightsabers because they're supposed to be lightweight, and because he has a metallic arm, he can afford to...
I always also looked at it symbolically as the idea that Anakin has a lot more to his life than a lot of other Jedi, which also kind of reflects a lot. So all around, this episode basically has Cad Bane prevalent as a character. It basically ends with the senators being saved, but Zero the Hutt goes free. And all along, that's the end of season 1. So given that we broke down each individual arc, what would you say your opinion of season 1 is overall?
It's a good start.
I think we can both... Oh, go ahead.
Sorry,
no, go ahead.
It's a good starting season, and it's a good showcase of what the potential of the show has going forward. And the only real bad episodes, I would say, are anything that's not directly correlated with the war, or if there's any, like, really stupid moments, we can, i.e. Bombard Jedi, the one where R2 goes missing, Downfall of a Droid, and Duel of the Droids. Basically, it's a good starting season, and I'm glad that they made this. Although, yes, it does contradict a lot of the things. Now, should we talk about if it contradicts any of the movies at all? In terms of, like, the 6?
Well, yes, I was willing to mention movie contradictions. I think comparing it to the EU deserves its own video. But I am willing to make comparisons with the movies, which is why I mentioned my issues with Anakin being knighted so quickly with having Ahsoka as a Padawan. Like, it's not the problem. Like, even disregarding that giving Anakin an apprentice is kind of out of line with what we see him as in Revenge of the Sith. It's just the factor that they do this way too early. Like, it's kind of like, again, like, what reason would I have to believe that Anakin got knighted almost immediately after Attack of the Clones? When in that movie, he was being a disobedient, spoiled little brat who literally got his ass handed to him. So it's kind of like... So, unfortunately, that is kind of a problem that TCW has, and I almost wonder if season 1 would have benefited if it at least featured, if the season focused on Anakin within his Padawan time frame before getting knighted. Like, maybe have him get knighted, like, close to the end of season 1. And then at that point, that's when he could get Ahsoka. But I don't know. That's just kind of my personal take on it. And then obviously you have contradictions related to Obi-Wan and Grievous and how they developed their relationship. Because up until this point, Grievous and Obi-Wan were pretty much strongly implied to have never fought each other before, ever. Like, you know, so that's kind of a contradiction there. And this is another minor one that kind of comes into play as the series goes on. But Anakin and Dooku end up fighting each other a lot as well, even though you get the line of Revenge of the Sith. Anakin saying, "My powers have doubled since the last time we met, Count." Basically heavily implying that Anakin had not faced Dooku since Attack of the Clone. So that's kind of where Star Wars The Clone Wars kind of has one of its biggest problems, which is Dave Filoni is very much a type of person that really wants to write stories the way he wants to do it, and he doesn't like being constrained by outside lore.
Which has its benefits and has its downsides. Anyway.
Exactly. But all around, I would probably judge my opinion of season 1 saying that it is a D start. It has a lot of problems. However, the good news for the show is that its quality does get better as the series continues.
Oh,
so
yeah,
it's kind of like...
Yeah. It picks
so we're
up
only
quite a bit.
climbing up from here. So with that in mind, that's a review of season 1. So if we were to score it, what would you want to score it?
I'm going to give it 4 lightsabers out of 10. Or maybe I'll give it 6 out of 10.
Yeah, I would say like a 5 to 6 out of 10 would probably be appropriate. It's a show where I think the biggest thing with season 1 is it's definitely had to take time to try to find its footing. And it kind of needed to take time to figure out what it wanted to be. Because it's kind of like, and you can kind of see that in how the season progresses, because it's kind of ironic that a lot of the worst episodes are within the first half of the season, but some of the best are within the second half.
Yeah.
And I think I think that kind of reflects with the show's quality, where by the time you get to the Ryloth arc, I feel like by then Filoni and his team kind of figured out what they wanted the show to be like. So all around, this is kind of the viewpoint of season 1. There is a lot more coverage that will be done as the series progresses within our reviews. But overall, we're probably going to leave it at that. Thank you guys very much for watching. Negasonic, I'll let you close out the video.
Yes, I will say that season 2 is going to be a doozy, and it's going to be fun. I will say, though, if I had to say my favorite episode out of season 1, I'm going to have to say, I would say Innocence of Ryloth was my favorite episode. King, what would you say is your favorite episode of season 1?
Innocence of Ryloth is definitely highly up there. Probably my personal favorite is probably Rookies.
Rookies is good too.
I do really like Rookies. So all around, pretty good run. I'm looking forward to seeing to our review for season 2.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching, and until next time, this is King Orange.
And I am Dead Ponic. We are signing off. Bye-bye.
Peace.